Today, you're going to learn the business value of UX design and how it increases revenue. Hi guys, my name is Laith and welcome to Wallace TV, where you can improve your life through creative advice. And I share advice, tools and motivation on this channel to help you to become a better designer and show you how designers can influence businesses. Not only that, if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. Now today, when I talk about the business value of UX design, I first want to kick it off by actually just giving a simple definition on what exactly is UX design. UX design surrounds all of the aspects that the end user will interact with that company or service. UX design is consistently trying to find the synergy between the business goals and the user's needs. And while we're doing that as UX designers, you're taking into consideration the technical capabilities along the way. A UX designer really focuses on what is the real KPIs that business is trying to achieve, and how do we get the best return on investment on any strategies or tools or tips or whatever we try to implement along the way. A UX designer is consistently testing those ideas as well, never feeling like those ideas are hard and fast rules, but always in a mindset of an iterative design process, seeking new and more efficient ways than the ways suggested in the beginning. So a UX designer is never 100% happy all the time. It's always a learning process, always something that you can consistently improve on. And this is why to businesses, UX designers are so essential. Now, when we talk about how UX design can be measured, there are 6 ways that I want to kind of share initially on how you can measure the impact of UX design. The first thing is about increased sales. The second thing on how UX can be measured, and not only that, why you should invest in UX design, is not only because it increases sales, but it increases engagement. UX design can increase adoption with the ease of use of a product. It can increase the retention of your users, okay? Not only that, you can save time, as you know, I'm going to show you later down in this presentation. Also, brand loyalty is so important. UX designers can help to improve that through really refining the customer journey for that business as well. Now, one way UX designers go about achieving goals is by understanding the product strategy, or some call it the UX strategy or the product strategy. I like to basically say it's the same thing. And the reason why is because the UX strategy or the product strategy takes into consideration what is the business trying to achieve, what are the real return on investment for this business, what are the key KPIs that this team is trying to reach, is it the marketing team needs to get involved, and you need to understand the language and the lingo that they'll be speaking about. For example, the marketing team cares about CPC and CTR, so cost per click or click-through rate. These are the kind of things that you want to try and understand. Now, a UX designer has to do a combination of facilitation workshops to help their business understand what their strategy is and how to go about achieving those goals. A great book is by a guy by the name of Jake Knapp, and it's called Sprint. Helps you to solve big problems and test new ideas in just 5 days. And if you check out a channel called AJ and Smart, the guys over there have a really great archive and plethora of videos that really breaks down how to do the Google Sprint in the best way possible. That is definitely one of the best tools that I use when it comes on to doing stakeholder workshops. But as we kick into the business value of UX design, the thing I want to start with today is I want to give you an example on user experience, right? Now, everybody knows Heinz ketchup. Over here in the UK, for those of you who are not here, Heinz ketchup is like a staple, sauce that you have with a lot of things, a lot of food ate over here. One thing that we eat a lot in the UK is fish and chips. So, when we used to get fish and chips, everybody would have this glass bottle, and then, you're having to smack the back of the glass bottle to get the ketchup out. But the Heinz ketchup bottle is one of the most well-known symbols, especially over here in the UK, right? And since the product launch in 1896, Heinz has continually evolved the design and the packaging of the sauce with such innovations as the move from glass to plastic bottles in 1987. But by 2001, the company realized that it was time to make a significant shift. The first design of that top-down was launched in the UK in 2003, and within weeks, it was exceeding all expectations. More than 7 million of the bottles were sold in the first 12 months, more than 3 times the base estimate of 2.2 million sales. So they sold 3 times more than their base estimate. And in early 2004, a second design came into play, making it one of the most iconic, or the more iconic 57 varieties via embossing, right? This move ensured the brand's heritage and long-term values were maintained throughout the transition. So when we talk about UX design, we're talking about how are the users experiencing the product and how can we improve that experience along the way. So Heinz did a very, very key example here. And not only that, you saw real revenue increase along the way. So the key takeaways I want you to understand is that they had to observe their customers using the product. And in observing them using the product, they realized that there were real good areas of improvement. They made significant shifts from material changes, right? So that over here it was glass, then they moved to plastic. When making that shift, they realized there was still more to do anyway. So they first made the shift to plastic, then they changed the design and rotated it so that everything came out the bottom rather than everything coming out the top. The new design was successful because it solved a real genuine problem for the people that use it, for the parents, for the children, and anyone that's using it. Instead of having to smack the back of the bottle, it's always upside down. Everything always goes right to where it needs to be. And you can squeeze the bottle and get the last remaining drop of ketchup out as you want to. So it really solved the genuine frustration that people had when using that product. So this is really important for us to understand that when it comes on to improving user experience, it really does have business value to the way it can help customers feel better about the products they're using, but also the businesses can really achieve the goals that they want to achieve, selling more product, increasing customer satisfaction, increasing sales, increasing engagement, increasing real return on investment on every KPI that they're trying to meet as well. So UX designers, I believe personally, UX designers are essential to business growth. There's a great quote here named by Charlie Claxton, who's the head of UX design at Amazon. And Amazon is the biggest e-commerce company in the world. And this is what he said: every dollar invested in UX yields a return between $2 and $100. Let me repeat it another way. UX yields a return between $2 and $100 on every dollar invested. There's a great book by a gentleman by the name of Robert Pressman, and he says in his book, Software Engineering, a Practitioner's Approach, every dollar spent to resolve a problem during product design, $10 will be spent on the same problem during development, and multiply to $100 or more if the problem had to be solved after the product's release. So you can see there's a 10x increase in cost to improve a problem after a product has been released. So it's very important to think about not throwing money away. And that's why UX designers can help to align the thoughts of everyone, technical, project managers, stakeholders, everybody aligned, thinking the right way, understanding the strategy, understanding the key features. But the UX designer is talking to your customers as well, making sure that you're really staying aligned with the business goals and the user's needs. A recent study by Forrester found out that, while a great user interface design could increase conversions at a rate of about 200%, a great UX design could increase the same by 400%. So it's really powerful when you understand the value of UX design and how it can double and triple your business. I give you another example through Staples. They basically focused on a user-focused redesign of their website and increased the revenue sales by 500%. 500% increase in revenue just by focusing on what do the users need? What do the users need, and how do we increase their experience through this digital platform, our website, right? Now, when customers come to your site, you only have seconds to influence them. So investing in UX optimization is necessary to quickly gain trust, brand recognition, and to ensure user retention. Now, when it comes on to calculating the return on investment, first of all, I'm going to give you another set of research done by Forrester. We know that usability has a big effect on customer satisfaction, so much that it increases their willingness to pay by 14.4%, reduces their reluctance to switch brands by 15.8%, and it boosts their likelihood to recommend a product by 16.6%. And this is the thing that all brands want. Word of mouth marketing is the cheapest but the most effective way to market your product. And if you can increase the customer satisfaction and make it the best you possibly can, it will increase their ability not to switch from your company to competitors, but likely to share that with a friend or an associate as well. A great behavioral psychologist by the name of Dr. Susan Weinsteck outlines the benefits of user experience. You can avoid unnecessary rework for programmers, your developers, by 50% just by having a UX designer really take time to understand what the business is trying to achieve, the features that you need designed, why you need them designed, who is the user that you're designing for. Key questions, simple questions that you ask, but it's when you ask those questions. The next thing you can do with UX design, she found out, is that you can reduce a developer's time, and that makes sense. If you're avoiding rework, they don't have to go back and redo code on certain things, which means that they can focus on new features and implementing new systems and tools to improve what has already been done, which means that she found out a 33% reduce that development time can be seen when you apply UX design a lot earlier, which by default affects your bottom line. It means you have more money to play around with things like user testing, for example, or maybe you might spend more time prototyping. It depends on how you want to reallocate those funds, but it's so important to see the real business value of UX design as well. So like I mentioned earlier, product strategy or UX strategy is so important to apply it really, really early. In this diagram I show you here, you can see that without UX strategy, when you start a design, you get into testing, revisions, production, and then you're launching it out with your marketing campaigns. But when the release date happens, there are going to be a combination of fixes that you may need to do on that website, that web app, that app that you've launched, and those fixes will be increased a lot more simply because you haven't applied UX design in the beginning. So let's talk about with UX strategy, when you're thinking about having real solid work done before you even start any design. The UX designer will understand the customer journey, who we're designing for, how we're designing, what systems are we designing for, what tools and platforms are we designing on. These are some key questions that the UX designer really understands, really is helping to align. Would have done a combination of facilitation workshops with the technical team, project managers, with your stakeholders. All of these people would have been in the room really understanding and getting solid alignment from everybody involved in the project. Along the way, you also may be able to allocate funds to testing a bit more, but by the end, after your release date, there is less time spent on fixing errors, because as a UX designer, you would have worked with the team along the way, you're speaking to customers along the way, so you can rapidly make quick changes. You're speaking to developers, you're helping developers understand what the customers are asking for, you're helping developers maybe see certain things that the stakeholders are asking for. These are the types of things that UX designers are really helpful to do in a project as well. So in her paper, Dr. Susan Weinsteck, this behavioral psychologist, she outlines 3 useful equations for calculating and saving costs. So one thing she says, number of errors times the average repair time times employee cost times the number of employees equals cost savings. So the cost of development and maintenance, number of changes multiplied by the average hours per change times by the cost of a developer equals some savings. Productivity, if you take the time saved multiplied by an employee cost times by the number of employees, what cost savings are you making to that business here? I've plugged in some random numbers again, 1.5 million potential saving, but it just depends on the business. But the point we're making with these great equations that Dr. Susan has put together, it can really help you as a UX designer see the real benefit that you are applying to a business. If you're helping these developers save time, that without you, how much longer would it have taken for them to understand the key features, for them to have prioritized those key features, to really understand who they are developing for? These are the types of things you have to think about. But if you can plug it into a simple, equation like this, you can then go back to the key stakeholders in that project and really showcase how valuable you are to that project as well. So here I'm going to talk about the time benefits of UX design. In this case study, Mozilla saw a 70% decrease in support calls after spending about 14 weeks focusing on usability and iterative design. So now I want to talk about how much should you spend on UX design. So for any business and as a designer, how do you understand where those project costs are allocated to what you're doing? So a UX design budget should actually cost roughly between 10 to 20% of the total project's budget. So whatever that total project is costing, 10 to 20% should be allocated to user experience design, and that usually will yield the best return on investment. That said, your UX budget spending won't look the same as the next company. So you may spend more on research, whereas others may spend more on prototyping. It will usually depend on your specific project and the business goals and objectives. So Like I was mentioning earlier, you could see then that UX design is very essential to businesses. And it's so important that you have a solid business strategy as well. You saw the diagram that I presented to you earlier. With real good UX strategy or product strategy, however you want to call it, it's so important to see that when applied very early on in a business, it can have real business value further down the line. So if you look at design-led companies, you can see that they are in the billions in regards to revenue. If you look at a company like Airbnb that's now valued to over $90 billion, they're using the principles of design thinking. They've attributed that way of thinking to actually the increase in sales for their business. And they've got real good UX designers doing some amazing work there as well. So if you look at a company like Netflix that has been producing the most content, especially natively on their platform as well. They have an omni-channel seamless experience from mobile, tablet, TV, as well as desktop. You know, it's an incredible experience that you have with Netflix. They're spending about $6 billion just on their content alone, and they are multi-billion-dollar organizations. So you can see there the power of UX and how it, when applied to business, it can make money as well. If you look at Daniel Ek, who's a Swedish billionaire and entrepreneur who actually is well known for co-founding Spotify, that now is worth $2.5 billion UX dollars. $2.5 billion UX dollars for a music streaming platform. And by no means least, you know, this one I want to mention is Apple. Apple, as you know, is the most valuable company in the world. But the key thing I want to pay attention to is that user experience also has a direct impact on a brand's credibility. By providing a frictionless user experience, organizations can positively impact customer satisfaction and thereby increase their trust in their system. And that's what we've seen with Apple, is that because their customer experience and their satisfaction is, you know, if not one of the highest in the world, you can see that people trust to use their phones and the applications and everything else that comes along with their system as well. So it's really important as a designer to think about the holistic experience with the brand and how you can improve that process along the way as well. So if you look at this consultancy called Walker, they said that by 2020, customer experience will overtake price and product as the key brand differentiator. Customer experience. So where before people were competing on price, by 2020, we're going to compete on customer experience. Who has the best customer experience and who is actually consistently working on it non-stop. And the people that work on it the most are your UX designers. So my question of today, how have you also seen the value of UX design in business? If you've got any additional examples, please share it below. There's hundreds, thousands out there. So please share it in the comments below. And I'd love to talk to you. Every comment I always respond to. So please don't hesitate to ask me anything. And please just comment below and get in touch. So I hope that this presentation has been really valuable for you today. If you're new to Wallace TV, please subscribe, but definitely download my 25-point UX design checklist because I believe it will be super valuable to you as a designer and really help you grow from where you are to where you want to be. Also, when you sign up for my checklist, you will be part of my newsletter that I send out as well. If you'd love to know more, you can visit my website at laithwallace.com, and please just get in touch with me and hopefully we'll speak soon. Take care.